Nossa, mãe, espera aí que eu vou te contar um negócio. Espera aí.
O link da reunião vai ficar sendo esse aqui mesmo?
Boa noite, pessoal. Suave.
Boa noite, Paulão, meu querido.
E aí, Pedrão? Como tá? Como tá? Tudo bem?
Tudo ótimo, só vamos maneirar aí que a gente tá online no YouTube, né? Não queremos.
Ah, é? Então, beleza.
Hello.
Hi, Professor.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. How you guys doing?
Hi, Professor.
Hello. How you guys doing? Good to see you.
Fine, and you?
I'm well. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you all. Okay. Okay, so we're waiting for people to join, or okay.
The new members are on YouTube, Professor.
Oh, the new members on the YouTube?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, let me know when you guys want me to start. Just, you want to give them a few more minutes?
I think we
Ah,
can start now.
yeah, we can start.
We can start? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how many members do you think are not watching the YouTube right now?
Let me see.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
can I introduce you, Professor?
Yeah, no, please, yeah, go ahead and do whatever you need to do.
Okay, so thank you. So good evening, everyone. Today, we are honored to have another meeting with Dr. Salim Abdurrauf. In addition to consider a leading figure in the field of neurosurgery, Dr. Salim is a professor and founding chairman of St. Louis University, and also our global president of Walter E. Denso Neurosurgical Society, which is considered the primary international society for operative neurosurgery. As we said to you, Professor, today is a special day as it is officially the first class given to the new members of Brazilian Capture, with over 100 interested medical students who signed up for the club and are watching us on YouTube. So guys, feel free to send questions in the chat or in our WhatsApp group. I'm sure it will be a very profitable year for everyone. So I'd like to thank you in advance for all your efforts for education around the world, and especially in Brazil, Professor. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you to the officer of the Dandy Brazil Club, a great group of students. I'm very proud of all of you. It is my pleasure to meet the members for the first time of the Dandy Brazil Club. Brazil is a beautiful country. I have been there a number of times to give lectures, and I look forward to meeting each one of you. The Dandy Club in Brazil will host a meeting in the next few months once we are through this crazy COVID crisis. We will have the vaccine in a few weeks. So hopefully by March, April, I will be coming to Brazil to have our first face-to-face meeting Congress for the club. So I look forward to meeting each of one of you. Today, as is your first meeting with us webinar, I want to give a very general introduction to brain surgery, a very general fun talk to you. And please feel free to ask questions at the end. You can submit the questions, ask me about anything. I want to give you a little bit of a view of brain surgery, but also of a life of a neurosurgeon. A life of a neurosurgeon through my own life. So I want to share with you my personal story in this lecture and share with you some of the concepts and things and how I think about this young specialty that is neurosurgery. It's a baby specialty. And I want to share with you some the ideas, and hopefully you will contribute to this specialty in the future. The whole idea of the Dandy Club is leadership development. We are trying to develop you into future leaders in the field of neurosurgery. We want a young generation like you to go on to become the next generation of leaders in Brazil and other countries around the world. And it is the reason why we hold these clubs around the world. And it's important if you guys want to get involved in that, is to become part of that mission in the future. Baby Boy Tank is my boy. He's very famous. He's well known around the world. Many of you know him, and you can meet him on my Instagram page. He does posts all the time about himself, so you can meet him and get to know him. He's a gladiator. He's okay, so you need to know this about him. Brain surgery, neurosurgery. Okay, in medical school, you are told the brain is a very complex structure, is a very difficult course, neuroanatomy, nobody likes it. It is not so. It is actually a very interesting topic, and it's a very complex topic, but in a fun way. We in the Dandy Society will teach you about the brain in a very fun way. As you do these lectures with us over the next few months, you will find it to be very interesting. It is not like your neuroanatomy course in medical school. It's not going to be as boring and complex as that, okay? So this is going to be a fun journey with us over the next few months where you will learn about the brain, all right? The brain has these hundreds of millions of neurons on the surface. Then it sends these axons all the way to everywhere in the body, okay? And this is a dissection in my lab by my medical students and residents of the fiber tracts, these white matter tracts right here. These are the dissections, okay? And this is MRI, what we call diffusion tensor imaging, DTI, showing these tracts, these axons of these neurons going all over the body. We will teach you about the brain from this perspective, so we'll make it fun for you to understand how the brain connects with the rest of the body. This is through our lectures that we will have with you on a monthly basis over the next few months, and you will like it. It's not like medical school course. You will enjoy it, and we will make it very fun for you. In the bottom left side, there's a tiny baby picture. This is my story, and as I said in this lecture, I will cover my personal story. That is me playing soccer, which was my first career in life. Doing neurosurgery is my second career. It's plan B. Plan A did not work out. I grew up in academy schools for soccer. I got my scholarship at age 16. I get my professional contract at age 17. Unfortunately, 2 months before I'm starting my professional career in Europe, at age 17, I suffered from a severe injury to my left knee requiring multiple operations. That ended my career in soccer as it started right away at age 17. My whole world was over. It was all done for me. I was very depressed. A few months later, I met a young neuroscientist like you're meeting me, and he was very good to me. He took me under his wing. In America, we work in the summer. He gave me a summer job to work in his lab. I started to like the brain, and he then took me out and told me, Salim, I know your story. I've seen you work. I think you should think about becoming a neurosurgeon. I couldn't believe it. I'm 17 years old. I don't know what he's talking about. Then I started looking into the brain. I decided, and I made the executive decision that I want to go to medical school to become a neurosurgeon. So this is how I am here today. So this is plan B. Plan A is me playing professional soccer. So this is how life works, okay? So I'm just trying to explain to you my story as we go through this lecture, what it has happened to me. Going from really down, feeling so bad, then going back up again, feeling that I can do something for the world of neurosurgery in the United States and around the world. So this is how life is, and these are the lessons we learn. When you look at the human brain, there are a lot of lesions, diseases that can occur in the brain that the neurosurgeon has to deal with. For example, you could get this aneurysms form in the large blood vessels of the brain. And I will talk about that in a minute. You can get what's called arteriovenous malformation, AVM, in the brain tissue itself. You can get these tumors in the brain or on cranial nerves. These are things that neurosurgeons like me deal with on a daily basis. To do this, you have to know many different things. You have to know what is the safe way of getting there without injuring any other brain tissue. That's one. Two, once you get there, how do you handle operating on AVM is very different from operating on an aneurysm, very different from operating on a tumor. What is the specific technique you have to employ to operate on that lesion? That's when you're in the operating room. Before you get to the operating room, you have to decide, should we operate on this patient or not operate on the patient? You have to know what we call natural history. What happens if you do nothing versus what happens if you do something? What is the risk of doing surgery versus what is the risk of doing nothing? That comes from knowledge. This is why neurosurgery training is long training. We teach these things so you understand judgment, which is when to operate, when not to operate, then technique, how to operate, how to get there. This is a combination of becoming an exceptional neurosurgeon, becoming a master neurosurgeon. I want you, if someday that's what you do, I want you to become a master neurosurgeon, because I don't believe in average or mediocre neurosurgeons. If you're mediocre, you should not do this. You should do something else, because the risk operating on the brain is too high for the patient. So you cannot be average. You have to be exceptional. The whole concept of the D&D Society is to produce exceptional people. So we have the clubs for students and residents, and we have chapters for neurosurgeons around the world. Why do we have clubs and chapters? We have them because we want to produce exceptional people to take care of people and their family members, to take care of them well. Okay. Now, let's go. I am going to talk to you about the major blood vessels of the brain where these aneurysms occur, because that's a great example to introduce the field of neurosurgery to you. Let's look at the brain. The brain has major blood vessels supplying you with blood. The brain requires more blood than any other organ in the body. It requires 20% of the blood flow from the heart any one time, more than any other organ. There are 4 large vessels, 2 carotid arteries, 2 vertebral arteries that go up to the brain, okay? Now, as I told you, the neurosurgeon has to learn how to operate on the brain. So as I'm looking at this picture, I'm seeing, okay, aneurysms, most aneurysms occur in this location, the circle of Willis. Okay, So how am I gonna get there? See, as a neurosurgeon, I have to think like that too. Well, this is a natural trajectory right here. This is called the Sylvian fissure between the temporal lobe and frontal lobe. That is how I'm gonna get there. See, I'm always thinking, what is the safe way for me to go somewhere to do surgery? Okay, it's not just, this is not like general surgery. You just make an incision, you go in the belly. In the brain, you cannot injure neurons. So you have to think all the time, what is the way, what is the best way? Not the shortest way, but the safest way. And the safest way may be a very long way. So this is how I want you to think, okay? So this is the idea of neurosurgery, okay? So this is where the aneurysms will occur in one of these arteries right there or right there. An aneurysm will happen, and then we have to go to treat the aneurysm, okay? So this is the how we have to think about getting to difficult locations in the brain. Let me show you the terminology I'm using. I want to explain to you. I'm going to talk about clipping an aneurysm. What does clipping an aneurysm mean? This patient has 2 aneurysms right here, okay? Let me show you what clipping means. This is under the microscope. This is one aneurysm. That's aneurysm, the second aneurysm, okay? Let me show you what clipping means, okay? This is me putting a clip right there. This clip stays in for the rest of your life in the brain. Once you close those, this aneurysm is cured. Boom, done. That's it. Second aneurysm, I'm putting a clip right there. I'll show you. See, I'm watching. See, there's a tiny vessel here, normal vessel. I have to be very careful. Very careful. I don't close off this tiny baby vessel. So I'm thinking, I'm going to put the clip right next to it. Make sure I'm not occluding it to close off the aneurysm right here. That's a clipping of an aneurysm. That's an aneurysm clipping operation. Okay? So this is how I want you to think. I do a lot of awake surgery.
Fine, just put her back to sleep.
So I know during surgery the patient is okay when I'm putting the clip, that there is no problem. I don't need to readjust the clip, okay? So this is the aneurysm clipping surgery. Now, I want to make you think a little bit bigger. So I want to take you back a few years ago. You know, I lecture to around the world, to neurosurgeons around the world. A few years ago, I asked to lecture to a group, not neurosurgeons. And I'll tell you why. I got a phone call from New York City that there is a group that is the owners and the coaches of professional teams of the NHL, NFL, the hockey, the baseball league, NBL, and the professional teams in Europe. They all get together, all the coaches and the owners, in a closed area, close to the public, close to the media, once a year. And they discuss strategies. What do they want to discuss? They want to discuss leadership, and they want to discuss what do you do when something goes wrong. These are leadership ideas, concepts, how they teach each other. And every year, they invite a couple people from outside of sports to tell them in their own world how they deal with problems. So they call me up and they ask me, okay, what is the worst thing that can happen to a neurosurgeon? He's operating. I said, well, a lot of bad things can happen. I guess one example would be you're operating and an aneurysm ruptures, bleeds while you're doing surgery. That is a life and death situation. They say, good. You come and give us a lecture on how you handle a situation if the aneurysm ruptures. Because we learn from people how they handle bad situations. Because in sports, it's all about handling failures, handling problems during a game, whatever. I said, okay, fine. I'll come and talk to you. So I'm going to share a little bit with you my lecture I gave them to explain to you this idea, how I think, how you have to think. I show them an aneurysm. Obviously, they're not doctors, so I show them an aneurysm. If this ruptures, bleeds, the patient can die. This is the kind of situation. Okay, so I'm going to explain to them a situation that happened to me, and because they want to know how I think in a bad situation. How do I deal with bad situations? Okay, So I show them a case of a patient who was operated by another neurosurgeon in another part of America who did this clip on this aneurysm, but it was in a very difficult location. And then the aneurysm started growing around it because the aneurysm was not fully clipped because there's a bone around here. He called me up and he said, Salim, this is going to be very difficult to go back in. The patient just had another rupture, needs another surgery. We could not do endovascular treatment. We needs another surgery. So he was sent to me. Now, this is a very difficult place to go back in. It's around the bone. There's going to be scarring, okay? So we will do the surgery. So this is this aneurysm right here, okay? So we're going to go back in here. There's going to be scarring. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy, okay? So we have to think what we're going to do. See how the clip is sitting on the aneurysm like this. I have to come around it somehow, all right? So that's the idea that we have to do. So what I'm doing the day before with my team to show them, this is a clip that's already on the aneurysm. This is a carotid artery where the aneurysm is sitting. I have to come around, put my clip like this, open it, then rotate my hand all the way around, rotate, rotate, rotate in a very tight area, bring the clip down, and around there to close this clip in a very tight, very sensitive area. I know this is not going to be easy, but so I explained to them, this is how a team, this is a sports people watching, this is the microscope, these are my residents, my team, anesthesiologist, this is the craniotomy, we remove a piece of bone, we reflect the bone, okay? Then we go inside, we open the sylvian fissure I showed you, between the temporal lobe and the frontal lobe to get down to the aneurysm, okay? So that's the idea of what we're trying to do. This is how we open the sylvian fissure. I'm opening the sylvian fissure to go between. Now I'm down here. That's the clip that's already was on the aneurysm, and I'm putting my hand around it all the way. Now I'm trying to rotate that clip as I showed you, around that clip to get underneath it. As I try to get underneath it, the scarring has formed and my clip I'm applying is stuck and it's not opening and it's not closing. Very sensitive situation. I tell the anesthesiologist, my team, be very careful. We're in a tough situation. I cannot pull it back. I cannot advance it. It's stuck. I'm trying to slowly maneuver my hand, slowly to try to close off this aneurysm. As I'm trying to close it, the aneurysm ruptures. Blood filling up the whole field. This is the worst situation neurosurgeon can face. The patient can die within the next 2 or 3 minutes, okay? This is why they invited me to speak to them. What am I thinking? See, what the sports people want to know from me is not that something bad happened, is who am I? How did I get there to be the surgeon operating? What made me who I am? What my training led to? What kind of training leads to better outcome? How I think, how I behave, how I treat my team members during a bad situation. You're losing a game. How does a captain act? How does a coach act? You're losing a game. It's 5 minutes of the last minute of the soccer game. You're losing 2-0. How do you behave? What is going through your head? This is how sports people think. This is how they succeed. This is why they had me, and they had a NASA astronaut, and they asked him a difficult question. Something goes bad in a capsule he's in. How does he treat his team? So they're asking me, not an easy question. I never had to answer this question to neurosurgeons. See, they're asking me a question I never had to explain to neurosurgeons. They're asking me, tell us what's going on through your head. Tell us, who are you as a person to deal with a life and death situation in your hand? Tell us what you are made out of. Not easy, because when I prepared this lecture, I've never had to prepare such a lecture for neurosurgeon. We don't talk like this, you know? So this is why I'm sharing this with you. So I had to explain to you this situation, okay? So what is this about? What's the situation about? That's the question, okay, that they're asking specifically. All right. So I say to them, this is about leadership. It's a high stress situation. There's a leader and there is a team, okay? That's the main surgeon. I have my residents, my team, my fellows, okay? They're around me. They're all supposed to be part of the team. There's an anesthesiologist in the room. We are like a soccer team. We all have to play together. We're not selfish people. We all have to make this work somehow together, okay? We all to be working in sync. There are two scenarios that are in front of me right now, okay? Scenario A, that's me. I'm scared. Aneurysm ruptured. I am scared. Bad things are gonna happen. The patient is gonna die, okay? My assistant, not helpful at all. Doesn't know what the heck is going on. He's freaking out, okay? My anesthesiologist, he is clueless. He was sleeping when this was happening, okay? He needs coffee, he doesn't know what's going on. The nurse says, I don't know about aneurysm, clips, whatever, this is a bad situation, okay? Then I have this other guy looking at me, and that is my malpractice attorney, my lawyer, and my brain looking at me and laughing at me, okay? That's scenario A. Within the next few seconds, this is what's going on through my head, okay? Fine. How about scenario B? How's about scenario B? The scenario B is this. This is the aneurysm. Aneurysm is scared of me and my team, okay? My assistant, he's tough. She's tough. She knows we're gonna work together. She's gonna help me with the suction right away. She's an excellent chief resident. She knows what to do right away. She knows how I think. I don't have to say the words. She knows what we're gonna do right away. The anesthesiologist, he's excellent. He's a neuroanesthesiologist. He knows what's going on. He knows how to manage the blood pressure. He knows what's going on. The nurse is an expert neuro nurse. Me, I'm comfortable. I'm relaxed. I'm the captain of the ship, but I'm not freaking out. I know this is a bad situation. We just hit a bad situation, but we are gonna handle it because I have to stay calm, okay? Now, what's gonna happen? So let's explain the situation. Let's explain what's gonna happen now, okay? How do you go from A to B? How do we become B? Let me first explain A. A is not uncommon situation. I've seen it all my life, okay? A is a neurosurgeon who's gonna lose his cool. He's gonna, now the aneurysm is bleeding, the patient's blood pressure is dropping. What is the guy doing? He's losing his cool. He's yelling at his team members. You're yelling at your team members when seconds count? True, really? That's what you're gonna do when seconds count, you're gonna start yelling? All right? More concerned about himself than the patient on the table. His ego is bigger than the patient on the table. He's more concerned about himself than somebody's mother or daughter on the table. He's afraid or worried about how this is going to reflect on him. He's worried about his reputation, what people are going to say. Deep down, he knows he does not have the skill set to handle the situation. You see, all of this is a reflection of this. This is all symptoms of this disease. So what I'm trying to do when I'm training neurosurgeons from around the world, you have to be in the beginning of the talk, I said, I want you to be an expert. This is what I meant. When you are a truly expert and a master, you don't need all of this. It doesn't enter your radar. It doesn't matter to you. When you're not an expert, these are all nothing but defense mechanisms, natural defense mechanisms of a bad boy acting out when things are going bad. When I was a little child, that was difficult, okay? My mom used to yell at me, all right? That's how, when you don't get your way, you behave. This is a symptom of not having the expertise, not being a master not being the guru of what needs to be doing, who needs to be doing what that day, all right? Dandy training for my students, residents, and neurosurgeons around the world. I'm setting the stones to develop you into exceptional people in the future, okay? I don't want you to be this guy. I have seen this guy many times in my training in my life. This is not the person you want to be, okay? There are actually many famous people who are like this, and that's unfortunate truth. From A to B equals leadership. Leadership equals confidence. Confidence under pressure equals mastery. Bruce Lee once said, I do not fear a man that has practiced 10,000 kicks. I fear a man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times. You know what he's talking about? He's talking about what I'm talking about. Mastery, true mastery. He's calm, he's cool. He's not worried, okay? So this is what it's about. Now, this is a long lecture. I'm not gonna go through it. Someday I'll talk to you about this lecture and how to think in leadership, okay? And someday we will discuss that. Anyway, you have to be a leader, a gladiator, that people as a leader, as a neurosurgeon, that people follow you, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. You just have to be the leader, okay? A gladiator for me can be male or female, it doesn't matter. In my job, a team winning is a patient doing well. Let's go back to the operating room. What happened? Calm, everybody knew what's going on in the room. I've got my left hand on the suction. My assistant is helping me. That is still working with me. I quickly was able to remove the bottom clip. I have my suction on the whole of the aneurysm right here. And I'm repositioning the clip to cover the hole from which the aneurysm is bleeding. This is within 30 seconds of what was happening, within 30 seconds. Right now, I'm covering the hole with the clip where the aneurysm is bleeding. Boom, I changed the angle very quickly. What happens? Boom, aneurysm is clipped, we're done, we're good. Patient a week later, post-op visit in clinic. Within next 5 minutes of what happened, this patient could have been dead, paralyzed, stroked out, or in my clinic a week later talking to me. What's the difference? The difference is I had amazing teachers. I had amazing mentors. I had people who taught me to become who I am. I want to pass that knowledge on to you. I have people taught me about leadership, and the people who taught me how to become an exceptional neurosurgeon. And those are two different skills. But I will choose to embark those skills to you. I want to help you to become that person, all right? I was not the smartest kid in my class. It's not like I was special, all right? I was no way the smartest kid in class, all right? And so don't tell anybody, oh, I'm born naturally, I'm just amazing, I was born to be great. This is all BS, okay? None of that is true. It is all a result of me getting amazing people who believed in me to make me who I am, okay? That's all it is. I don't have, natural skills or whatever. This is all arrogant talk. Don't ever listen to that kind of stuff. It does not mean anything, okay? It makes nothing. It is arrogant speaking that has no basis in reality, all right? So leadership, because of my past in professional soccer, Carlo Ancelotti, the head coach of Real Madrid, who was the head coach at that time, and me, we talked to groups of CEOs of companies and other leaders about what I just talked to you about. How do you think as a leader? See, I talk as a neurosurgeon. He talks about a giant in the field of soccer. We together come in and tell them lessons we have learned and how to lead other people, how we produce teams, how we produce environments, how we produce the right people how to produce a world-class soccer team, how to produce a dandy society that becomes world-class to teach new generation new things. He and I are very similar. We have the same ideas. It doesn't matter that it's soccer or neurosurgery. It's the same thing. It's a concept, okay? And this is the knowledge and stuff that I'm passing on to you. These guys are amazing, but they have the same set of beliefs. I met both of these guys. And when you really talk to these guys, deep down, they believe on the things I just told you. Deep inside, they believe in the things I'm just telling you. They believe in being a master, not mediocre. They never believed in being mediocre, okay? And they practice in weekends at home. They both have in their house a place they practice when the other players are having a good time. They don't spend time. They know what it takes to be a master, okay? They have the same set of principles, all right? Baby, this is Bobby Botank, okay? He says, when I'm mad at someone, and then you ask a question, am I hungry? Okay? So he like, you know, this is a bad situation for him, all right? He didn't like it. Because when he's mad at you, he wants to stay mad. You know, I produce some great teams. I'm proud of them. I want you to be part of my team. Actually, Dandy Society is my family. You're part of my family, okay? I love you all. Now, as we talk about blood vessels, someday you will learn, we're gonna talk about the carotid artery, but the Abdurrahman classification system is the classification you will learn about over time. And you will know how we learn the whole skull base and vascular through this classification. That's something you'll learn over the next few months. But today I'm gonna just talk to you about the aneurysms and the carotid, but the actual understanding what seems so complex, we will make it very simple for you. So what did I learn that day from the sports guys who invited me to speak? I learned something unique. What these sports guys are smarter than us. See, we in medicine learn from other doctors. We are siloed. We believe we know everything. The sports people try to learn from other people. So I figured out if I'm in a young specialty and I'm developing new techniques, I need to learn from other people, from other fields, ideas. So luckily, my father was a fighter pilot, a jet pilot, F-15 pilot. I grew up around kids in my school who became fighter pilots themselves. One of my best friends here is a F-16 fighter pilot. I invited him to come and speak in my department, in my university. I was very intrigued about what jet pilots do. They simulate everything before they do it. We, in medicine, we operate on people, life and death situation. We don't simulate. We just go and do it. Fighter pilots simulate everything before they do it. So I thought we need to learn from them something, okay? And I'll show you. One of my best friends is from professional car racing, from the Penske team. I invited him because the car racing also has a lot of lessons for us, how they act in very, very split-second decisions that they make, okay? This is another friend of mine who is a top pilot in the US Air Force right here, and he and I give lectures together, okay? This is the kind of thing that is very, just like I lecture with the soccer giants, I also lecture with jet pilots to learn new ways of thinking how to solve problems. Okay, so it's life is relative, okay? What two guys think of each other's haircut is very different, okay? So he thinks his haircut is stupid, he thinks his haircut's stupid, all right? And these are two really obviously giant brainy guys, very, very smart guys, you know, just so you know. Okay, very, very smart, all right? All right. So I talked to you about gladiators. So we have this mini club, gladiators club in the Dandy Society, okay? So Tank is a gladiator, okay? Tank is a gladiator, he's Superman, okay? I'm Batman, and this is what we do for Halloween, all right? So he's very tough guy right here. This is a tough boy right here. So this is Halloween picture. This is one of my best friends who's a fighter pilot, who we made him a member of the Gladiators Club. It was not easy for him because we had a vote. So 2-0 vote, he was accepted into the Gladiator Club, all right? And we went to watch him. This is Kevin. That's him. He's a lead pilot. He's a lead pilot right there. He's a Top Gun pilot, and we learned a lot from him. What did I learn from him? I want to show you the concept of 3D simulation in neurosurgery, like the fighter pilots. So if you look at this patient, this is a carotid artery. You don't need to know those abdural segments. I'm just explaining this to you. This is the aneurysm right here, okay? So what are we going to do? So first we 3D printed the carotid artery with the aneurysm on it. We never get to see this in neurosurgery. So I get to rotate this around and look at the whole aneurysm in a way I never had been able to do before. I'm able to, because I'm going to come at it from behind, I won't see it, so it's good for me to be able to see it here, okay? So that was very important for me to understand. Second thing we did was very, very cool. We 3D printed the patient's brain, artery, skull base, everything. And we decided we're going to simulate the surgery the day before. That's that carotid artery. The aneurysm is behind me. I'm simulating the surgery right here. I'm putting the clip right there in the aneurysm behind. The next day, exactly the same situation. Carotid artery, exact replica, millimeter by millimeter of this patient's aneurysm, brain, vessels. I know now where the aneurysm is. I know the size of my clip. I know everything. It makes it so much better, so much safer. It makes it better for the residents in training. They can simulate before they do the surgery, okay? You see what we're doing here? That's exactly what we did the day before on the 3D simulation, just like the fighter pilots. So we learned from our friends, the jet pilots, okay? And this is the ideas that I want you to have for the future as you develop new ideas and things that you want to do. Right there, you see that's a clipping of the aneurysm after simulation. We are currently conducting this study, randomized study. As a scientist, physician, not only you need to have the idea, you have to show it works. Because if you want the government, insurance companies to pay for it and to be adapted widely, you have to show it's better than the best available treatment. So we're randomizing 50 patients to the gold standard treatment, which is just clipping, and 50 patients to the simulation, the before and then clip. And then we look at the outcome of both groups. Improved outcome means that this is the way we have to do the surgery in the future. I love animals. I want you all to be kind to animals and to save the wild animals, because people, crazy people out in this world and try to kill them, which really upsets me, okay? So I want you to really, as this generation, protects the environment and protects our friends around the world, these animals. I lived for 3 weeks in a jungle in Nepal with a military unit that was there to protect the tigers from the poachers. And I became friends with a wild elephant here. His name, I named him Baby Boy Thor. This is Baby Boy Thor. He and I became friends, and we became very good friends. Completely wild elephant. And he and I became friends in the jungle, and he would let me get on top of him. He would help me. He's the coolest boy. And someday I hope to go back to the jungles of Nepal to find him, because I believe he will remember me. I miss him a lot, and I want to see him again. But I want you guys to believe in these things. It's not just about us. We have to do good things, okay? Now, why do men have shorter life compared to women in the world, okay? There's a reason for this, okay? Now, I know as a neurosurgeon, I could do a study, we could do a scientific study to look at the genetic cause or whatever, but we don't need a study. It's obvious why men live shorter lives, okay? It's so obvious, you don't need to. We don't need a scientific study. We don't need to invest money into this, all right? This is why the Dandy Clubs program comes from the Women in Neurosurgery Initiative. And the Women in Neurosurgery want to make sure we have future leaders in neurosurgery that are women. So we have enough leaders in neurosurgery in the future, okay? So this is important for us to understand why we need women in leadership positions in neurosurgery. I hope that explained it, okay? Surround yourself with those on the same mission as you. Don't let people bring you down. Make sure you are around good people who tell you the right things, support you. Don't let them tell you you can't do it, you're not good enough, you don't come from the right background, you don't look right. All this stupid talk. Don't let anybody tell you this stupid stuff. The other thing I really love in neurosurgery is what's called bypass surgery. This is a surgery of mine where I took an artery from outside the head and brought it to inside the brain to attach into a brain vessel. This is called extracranial to intracranial bypass surgery, okay? So that's bypass surgery. Yeah, for example, if you have a giant aneurysm like this, you attach a vessel from here to here, like this. So we attach a vessel from here to here, then the blood flow goes like this, from here to here, and then we can close off this artery right here. So the flow will go from here to there. That's called extracranial to intracranial bypass surgery. And that's how this surgery is done, okay? We attach the vessel to inside the head, and that's how we attach these vessels to each other. This is attaching the vessels to each other. So this is the radial artery from the arm being attached to the middle cerebral artery in the brain, right there. And that's bypass surgery. And this is actually, when I first started in neurosurgery after my fellowship, I was really intrigued by this procedure, and there were not good instruments. So I developed some of these instruments, and these are known as the Abdroff microsurgical instruments that I'm using here, that are used by bypass surgeons around the world. And these are some of the kind of bypasses that we do in the brain to bring blood flow to the brain, okay? So this is the main textbook, the reference textbook for bypass surgery to the brain, that I'm lucky enough to have written this book. And it's forwarded by my mentor, Professor Yashigil, who's considered the father of modern neurosurgery. I was very lucky at the end of his career to be trained by him as well. So this is the main textbook in bypass surgery in the world. And I had this book as well, but what I want to say is that this book of mine, which has nothing to do with neurosurgery, just came out this week. And it is about the geopolitics and history. It is my dream all my life to write this book, and it just came out. I hope all of you will read it. It's really a fun book. I'm going to show you just a quick video about it. Well, I hope you guys will read that book this winter break at Christmas. I am expecting all of you guys to read it. It's on Amazon. Anyway, we have meetings around the world. This is in St. Louis. We're teaching this bypass technique. I'm just showing you here today. The Dandy Society has multiple divisions. It has division for cerebrovascular surgery, division for skull-based surgery, division for spine surgery, and we have special courses around the world to teach, and hopefully when you guys become residents, you will be part of these programs in the future. Also, one program I would love for you to be part of in the future is something very dear to my heart. In sub-Saharan Africa, 200,000 children die every year from the simple condition we call hydrocephalus that is very easily treated, but it is these kids, there's nobody to treat them. There's no surgeons, there's no equipment, they all die. Okay, so we created what's called the Dandy Africa Initiative. And this Dandy Africa Initiative, we did a study in the continent of Africa. We looked at all the hospitals, availability of neurosurgeons, which was very few in sub-Saharan Africa, to understand how we do this. And we essentially came up with 5 centers in sub-Saharan Africa where we are having volunteer neurosurgeons, residents and students spend 4 to 6 weeks at a time to do volunteer surgery on these children, okay? Unfortunately, the COVID crisis put everything on hold. We hope to restart this in 2021. Hopefully you will help us in the future in this initiative that is close to our heart, okay? Tank says it's the collar he wears that's causing the weight problem. It's not him, okay? I don't know if I believe this, but that is his claim, all right? For the students who are joining us for the first time, I want to tell you something. Neurosurgeons are not like our father's neurosurgeons, our grandfather's neurosurgeons. We live a new life, okay? I live a life. I do all these things, but I enjoy my life, okay? You will become a better neurosurgeon if you live your life and live the world. I've shown you, this is baby boy Tank. This is baby boy Thor. I like to race cars, okay? This is from my professional soccer days. I love animals. I do all these things, yet I want to excel in neurosurgery. It's all possible. So I don't want you to think to go into neurosurgery, I'm gonna be this boring old person living in a hospital, always in bad mood, always yelling at people. No. It doesn't have to be that way. You could live a life that's full. You do the best you can. You do the things you love to do. And in the process, become an expert and be a leader. That's the kind of people we want to develop for the future, okay? So I want you to dream big. Obviously, a lot of you are on YouTube and you're not interacting with us. Please feel free to contact me, to join me on my Instagram page. This is my Instagram right here. You could ask me any questions. You can join me. You could see Tank's pictures. Tank has many pictures on Instagram. You could talk to him and visit him as well. You have some great leaders in neurosurgery in Brazil. Professor Roberto Dezena is one of our leaders in Brazil. He's joined us on this talk as well. So you have some great people in Brazil. Professor, we have our leaders in our chapter in Brazil. Paulo Iki Aquilar is our chairman there. Professor Desna, there are many, Professor Velasquez, Tatiana, there are many excellent people, okay? So you have a lot of local leaders, and you have us from a global standpoint. We look forward to working with all of you to make you into great leaders. Stay connected, all the students who are members, to the Dandy activities. We're gonna teach you the brain in a fun way, not like your difficult professors in medical school. We're gonna make it fun for you, okay? So I will now open it up for asking any questions that you guys have about anything I discussed. There are no shy questions. There's no difficult questions. You guys can ask anything you want.
Oh, I like to address some words. Can you hear me, Salim?
Yes, Professor
Yes,
Roberto.
Professor.
How are you, man?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Oh, good to see you again. Thank you. I'd like to thank you and congratulate for a great conference. As always, Professor Abdurov, it's visiting professor of our university, and I am a former fellow of him of St. Louis University and Cardinal Glennon Hospital. It's my great pleasure to be always together. You, thank you so much. Thank you for your efforts to develop of the world neurosurgery, the new generations, the students. It's my great pleasure always to contribute with the Dandy Club Brazil. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roberto. And when I visited Roberto, he was so hospitable to me. I loved it, visiting your town. It was great. Brazil is a beautiful country. I thank you. Thank you, Roberto. So good to see you. So good to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
Hi, Professor. Can you
yes.
hear me?
Yeah, hi, Clarina. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. What about you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm having trouble with my camera. It's not working today. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Clarina is our president of the Dandy Club in Brazil. Please go ahead, Clarina.
I'd like to thank you for this amazing lecture. Like always, you always have a great lectures for us, and we are very happy for being here with you and with our new members. And I'd like to make a question. Julia's questions. She wants to know if there is any damage in the artery during the procedure of the aneurysm. She wants to know if it can lead an hemorrhage.
Yeah.
If
So
you
no,
damage, of course.
Very good question. So the aneurysms are on major blood vessels. So aneurysm will be sitting here. Okay. So we come in and put a clip right up here, and in most situations, that's going to be totally normal to the normal vessel. The normal vessel will have blood flow going into it. Now, the damage we worry about, as I showed you, there may be a tiny little normal artery arising right next to the aneurysm. Now, if by mistake your clip incorporates that tiny artery, you can cause a stroke in the brain. Now, that would be a big problem, and that's why we have to be very careful. And the neurosurgeon has to be a very good, excellent, vascular neurosurgeon to do these surgeries. So there's always risk. Anytime you operate on blood vessels, there's risk. Okay, but people who are good at doing this, really the risk of damage to the normal vessels is minimal. It's never zero, but it is actually minimal. So that's a very good question. Very good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
And Juliana. Yeah. Okay, please ask us more questions. Feel comfortable to ask anything.
Professor, we have more questions from the members.
Yeah, Giovanna is our vice president for Brazil. Good to see you, Giovanna.
Good to see you as always, Professor. So Michael asked you if there was a key point in your career that made you recognize the importance of leadership in medical practice.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, I was a very shy kid growing up. Just, I was only, my coaches would tell my parents, he on the field, he's a different person. Outside the soccer field, he's a different person. On the field, I was the captain. I was very good. But off the field, I was very shy. I could never lecture to this many people and stuff before. I have to say, I recognize from my sports background that leadership is very, very important. I found growing up as a boy, when we had good coaches, somebody who could really speak to us and have the vision, we performed very well. When we had bad coaches, no matter how good the team is, we were never coherent as a team. So I learned that from my sports career, that unless you had a good coach, you will never, it's that vision, that ability to believe, people believe in you. Like in that picture, I was showing you, I didn't show you the whole lecture, but Alexander the Great, why would men willing to die for him? Now, this is before religion. Okay, remember, this is before religion. This is not a religious issue, okay, with Alexander the Great. Men were willing to travel far away, willing to die for him, because they believed in the leadership quality of a human being. So when you believe in a leader, you're willing to excel and do everything. I learned this early on in my sports career. As I was a resident, I was exposed to some amazing leaders. I was very lucky. I was trained under some exceptional neurosurgeons. I was at awe of some of these guys, how amazing leaders they were. And I was very shy, you know, so they saw that in me. And they actually are the ones who pushed me into leadership roles early on, and even as a resident. And they knew I was shy, but they knew my background. And they saw something in me and they pushed me into it. And so they are my mentors still this day. Those mentors is the reason who I am today. I went on to become the youngest chairman of neurosurgery in the United States and the youngest president of a global neurosurgical society because of them. They pushed me into this. And I had that leadership ideas from my sports background. So I was very lucky to be trained by top neurosurgeons who were themselves were great leaders, and then they taught me leadership. So I felt it was important for me, if I'm gonna be a leader, I need to be good at what I'm doing. And so I pushed myself into it. And I believe that was a smart thing to do, because now I can help many other people, not just my close people inside, but I can help from a global perspective. So thank you for that question, Giovanna, and your colleague who asked the question.
Thank you so much, Professor. We have more one from Lucas. He would like to know, what was the most challenging surgery you have performed until now?
Oh God, you know, I do a career, unfortunately, or whatever you look at it, I'm a person who only does high risk neurosurgery. I unfortunately do not have any simple cases anymore in my career. So most of the surgeries I do are referred by other neurosurgeons from around the United States or around the world. So I unfortunately do not have a practice where I do nice simple cases. So if you look at my cases I do, they're just very, very complex. So a lot of them are very complex. So it's not the surgeries, but the patients that I'm connected to the rest of my life. And there are things in life you never forget. I'll tell you a brief story that I never forget. So I was early on, I met this young child. He had a very bad brain tumor. He had one of these tumors called gliomas or astrocytomas, high grade. I operated on him once, was in the frontal lobe, then it recurred after radiation, then I operated again on him in the frontal lobe, then I did another surgery in the temporal lobe. He ended up with 4 surgeries over 2 years. All right. So I got very close to him and I close to his family. And I was fighting so hard for him because I was very worried. After the 4th surgery, he had his 3-month MRI and he came to the clinic to see me. And you know how it is, the MRIs get pushed up through the system. I had not seen the MRI. So they were in the room, I'm sitting there. He just had the MRI downstairs, came up. I pull up the MRI and I'm looking at it and they're sitting in the room. And now the tumor had involved the thalamus, the upper midbrain, which is really, and his parents could tell in the look on my face that this situation was done, okay? Now I'm looking at it and I'm having a hard time, just like I'm silent for a few minutes and he's standing next to me. This little child turns to me and said, you know, the patients all call me Dr. A. I don't know what he realized. He says to me, Dr. A, it's okay, you did your best. That was a moment that really affected me, you know, how a patient and you are so connected that they could feel what you're feeling. So he died a few months after that. But those are the things you never forget, okay? Those are the things that stay with you the rest of your life. It's those connections you have with people. It's not the surgery, it's not the great publications or your name on this or that or procedures or instruments. It is those moments in life that you just wonder sometimes that move you, you know, that change you as a human being. And so I've had many moments like that that have changed me as a person. And that was a moment I will never forget the rest of my life. So it is, unfortunately, this is a tough specialty when you have to deal with those kind of things, you know. But yeah, it's there are some tough times. There are tough times.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you. Any other questions I can answer?
I think we have more two questions, Professor.
Yes,
If
Pablo,
you,
please.
yes.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Rafael, first thing is thank you a lot for the amazing lecture. And he asks, when it comes to medical education, primarily in medical schools, what do you think to be the highest challenge on leadership training and development?
In medical school.
Yeah.
Yeah. For medical school, you know, the reality of medical school is a prep school for residency. Okay. That's what really medical school is. Nobody's a real doctor coming out of medical school, right? So the idea of medical school is having the right mentors in the various subspecialties. You see, to pick what your specialty you're going to go into comes from what exposure you have in medical school, what kind of people. Let's say you naturally would be very good at doing, let's say, ophthalmology, and you would be a right person to do that. You meet the ophthalmologist in your medical school and they're a bunch of rude people, they're not nice. You turn away from it and you pick another specialty. When you would have been the right person, you would have been perfect. So med school needs to have the right mentors for the various specialists so the students can have the right exposure to that specialty so they're not turned off by it, you know. I find this true also in neurosurgery. There may be a lot of neurosurgeons in many countries who are very rude, not nice, and turns off a lot of students from neurosurgery. And that is sad, you know. So I think med schools, the professors have the obligation truly to provide a platform to really give the right view to students of what that specialty is about, so that when you look at a lot of different things, you can make an objective decision, not a subjective decision based on the personalities of the people you meet in that specialty. And those are two very different things. You see, it could be a great specialty for you, but the people you meet are jerks. They're just not nice. And suddenly you say, okay, this is not for me. I don't want to do this, right? And that's sad because that has nothing to do with that specialty, right? So what I want medical students to really to know that just because they're meeting some people that they don't like, not to stereotype that specialty into that person. Keep your head open, because if you like what they're doing, the diseases and the patients they meet, it may still be something you want, okay? So the med school leadership is very important. We have to have the right leaders in the various departments who truly are taking students under their wing and truly giving them a right and objective view of their specialties. All med school is preparing you for residency, preparing you to make the biggest decision you will make your whole life. It's what you're gonna do the rest of your life. This is the biggest single decision, because this is what is gonna define you the rest of your life. Everything else up to this point, okay, you want to go to med school, you want to go, fine, everybody's doing the same thing. Now it's different. So having the right platform, the environment is what's important for leadership of medical schools. So that was a really good question. I'm glad I got to speak about it. Thank you. Paulo, you said there's another question.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, I think this is the last one. Vanessa, She's saying that she's loving reading books and gonna add your book on her reading list.
Good thinking, Vanessa. Okay. All right, please. Yeah, this is something different. This is something I've been intrigued by. This book is a combination of history, geopolitics, and popular culture. It's not written for historians or political scientists. It's written for the general public. And I did it. I watched the show Hamilton 2 years ago in New York City. I loved it. How they took a historical topic and made it so fun. So I made the book like Hamilton. So I hope you will enjoy it, Vanessa. That's great. I'm happy to hear that.
And she asking, she would like to know if there is a literature book that inspired you somehow and changed your life at least a bit.
I've had to read a lot of books over the last 10 years to write this book. I'm very intrigued. I'm intrigued by true leaders throughout history. Not selfish leaders, but leaders that see the whole thing about leadership I've talking to you about in this lecture. I'm trying to send a message in a subtle way, but I'll be very direct about it. Leadership is not, if you believe you are the biggest person in this world, you can never be a real leader. If you believe there are things that are bigger than you, then you are destined to be a leader, a real leader, okay? So I'm intrigued by those kind of personalities. As a young boy, I grew up in the American Midwest, reading American history. I was intrigued by George Washington, the first general who fought the British in America to liberate the United States. He had an interesting decision to make. He won the war, he was a general, he became the first president. He could have said, not president, he could say, okay, I'm gonna be the king. That was the system at that time. I'll be the king for life. He said, no, I'm gonna be president, term, I'm gonna leave the presidency. What a big decision to make. To believe that you're doing something for other people so there'll be a better system for generations to come. You're willing to leave the leadership of a big country so that the system will be bigger than you, okay? That is true leadership, okay? And that's the values I believe in. Look at Trump right now. He's trying to threaten our democracy because he thinks he's more important than the democracy itself. So this is the issue, is that for real systems, real institutions in countries, you have to have leaders who have bigger principles, who have standards that are bigger than you, okay? So I think you're gonna be important, you're gonna be doctors, you're gonna be surgeons, you're gonna be very smart. But if you always wanna be in a room where you wanna be the smartest person in that room, then you're doing the wrong thing, okay? I never wanna be the smartest person in any room. Because if I'm the smartest person in any room, I'm never gonna learn anything. I'm not gonna learn anything. The only way to learn is you believe that there are people, just like I'm learning from the jet pilots and from the race car drivers. You have to believe, you don't revolve, your whole life shouldn't revolve around you as a person, okay? You have to be like George Washington and many people throughout history who have had those bigger principles to do that. And I share some of those visions in my book and explaining how that thinking works and how bad leaders have led to bad things and good leaders have led to good things in my book based on those principles that I just talked about. So thank you for that question, Paulo.
Thank you, Professor.
Professor,
Yeah.
there's another question.
Please.
Danielle wants to know, how did you prevent yourself from hitting a wall, from losing the urge to do more?
Yeah, Danielle, I really have had many points in my life where I did hit the wall, okay? First one I told you about, when I lost my soccer career, I was depressed. I thought the world was over, life was over. My mother used to tell me everything happens for a reason. It used to upset me, okay? But I moved on, and I had, and many times throughout my career, I mean, you know, it's been not easy. Remember, neurosurgery is very, very, just like most specialties, is a very political field. I came on as a very young chairman, as a very young leader. I was attacked by many people. It's never easy. It's never easy. It's very, very difficult. At the end of the day, you know, what keeps me going is the belief that I'm doing this for what I just talked to you about. It is for those patients whose lives I'm able to change. I'm able to save lives and improve people's lives. That is the biggest driving force that drives me in doing this, okay? Writing this book is based on that principle. This book is not politically correct, and it's my family is not very happy with me. They think it's gonna make me a political target for some people around the world. But the benefit of what I'm doing far outweighs than me worrying about myself, okay? So the principles of allowed me to go through tough times is that, you know what? If I hit a wall and I'm down, that means all I think is about myself. When you hit a wall, Danielle, you got to think you have some other function, you have something else bigger than you. So you cannot get down on your knee and cry, because if you're doing that, you're very selfish. What if you have a bigger purpose that you have to deliver? It's for someone else and not for you, okay? There's no better feeling in the world is, you know, I enjoy a lot of things in life. You know, as Professor Desena knows, you know, I love racing cars. I love a lot of fun things in life, right? But I'm going to tell you the truth. What feels the best is not when I'm doing these great things I love. What feels the best when I do something for someone else that changes their life. When you weigh those two things, always that feels better, okay? So based on that principle, when you hit a wall, there's always something bigger. There's always something bigger than you. So that's what has allowed me to move on. That's what allowed me to move on. All of us have had difficult situations. There's no one who in leadership or otherwise has not had to deal with that. And there's always jealousy and envy and all kinds of stuff. And you just deal with it and move on. You know, so that's a very good question. Thank you. Thank you for asking that.
I think that was the last question. And thank you so much, Professor. It's really a pleasure to hear you talk. We can tell that you love everything that you do. So it's always a pleasure to hear your lectures. And I think all members are really glad. They are really happy to watch this as well. So thank you so much. And also, I would like to thank Professor Desena for being here today. He's great. We love him. And I met him during an internship this year in Germany. It was amazing. We were there, and he's really a really good teacher and always supportive of us. And I think that's all. Thank you so much. We have now 78 people watching on YouTube, but we had over 100 members, so we are really happy.
You know, Giovanna, you and your team, you guys are doing a great job in Brazil. I'm very proud of you. We want these members to go on this journey with us. You know, in Brazil, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. We're going to be doing activities with Brazil Club. There are going to be some global activities where a lot of the clubs are going to combine in big webinars. We're going to do big webinars that we're going to have students from many clubs, dandy clubs around the world to join. So, and I look forward to meeting all of you in person when I come to Brazil. So that's going to be a fun time to see you all. And it's been a great seeing you all. And it's been my pleasure. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. I'd like to thank you too, and thank you all the Andy members from the people, all the guys that are with me, leading this Brazilian club. Thank you for making it happen, and thank you for everyone who is watching us, and to everyone with thank everyone that shared this passion with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Clarina. Thank you, the whole group. Good to see you, Roberto. Take care, all of you.
Thank you, Professor. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye,
Thank
thank
Professor
you.
Dezena.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Tchau, doutor Dezena. Obrigada.
Valeu, galera.